Hi, welcome back to ADFS course by IT Lundy. We spoke in module 2 about design consideration, deployment, and HA. Let's talk about today firewall consideration. Why we need to care about this one? Because we mentioned earlier ADFS is often deployed on multiple servers, in multiple network, in multiple zones, and these zones can be separated by firewalls or firewall solutions. We need to ensure, we take care of this dependency because you need to have the right knowledge when it comes to prepare your infrastructure and firewall for ADFS. Let's have a look at this deployment. So we mentioned earlier inbound logic, and we cover the outbound. So inbound logic, we have TCP for T9443, which is for certificate authentication, device registration, optional. Otherwise, 2016 server will allow 443 for certificate authentication. Again, these if you are utilizing these two features. If not, then 443 should take care of all what we need. You can see that traffic incoming 443 or the 443 for certificate, hitting the load balancer, not hit into the internal, and you can apply the policy back to the backend. Now the firewall, where shall we place the firewall? The firewall located between the web application proxy and federation server farm must allow TCP 443 for web application and the VIP of the farm. The firewall between the client and the farm proxy must allow TCP 443 enabled with the client for web application VIP. In addition, the client user certificate authentication must be enabled, which means TLS authentication using 5209 is required for device registration if you want to allow or control the device, which is a feature required Windows 2012 R2 and above. Okay? Otherwise, it's not required between the firewalls. What else do we have here? I think that's all what we have here. I mean, if you are using wildcard certificate, then you know that one. It is take care of all the names, like, for example, we mentioned earlier, I'm using device registration, which means I will have something called ADFS itlandy.com. Then I will have something for my certificate, which is subdomain, which will be certauthentication.adfs.itlandy.com on port 443, and then I will have something called the device registration. That will be another subdomain, and I can use PowerShell to set these settings. Now, what about leaving my firewalls? The outbound logic to the intranet, I will use, if you are using Azure AD Connect Health, ADFS and WAP, you will need port 80, 443, 5671. Again, certificate for certificate revocation list, that will be on port 80, and the Federation Trust for metadata, that will be on 443. Now, Azure AD Connect Health help you to monitor and gain insight into your on-premise identity infrastructure and synchronize service. It enables you to maintain reliable connection to 365 if you are using Microsoft 365, Azure, Microsoft Online Services, which will provide you monitoring capabilities. Microsoft keep improving. We used to be Sync Engine. Also, what we need in order to monitor my certificate, I will need these ports. Therefore, web server need to be able to access the following on the intranet. We said port 80 for Azure AD Health Check, 443 Health Check, and we mentioned the certificate authority as well. Okay, there are some best practices by Microsoft around this area. Next, what we have, we finished the firewall. Next is the load balancer consideration. So, to taking care of the firewall, let's have a look at the load balancer. With load balancer consideration, what I need to worry about. Load balancer uses health probes to determine if the server should be removed from the farm. Recommendation is to check for HTTPS 200, and you can see the link for the metadata, and you can put in your monitorings, and you can do the same thing for the WAP or ADFS, and you can specify the SNI for your load balancer. Alternatively, You can check for 200 on fully qualified name with ADFS and the WAP server, and you must open port 80. Do not use ping. I'm sure you are aware of this one. Yeah. So the recommendation, these are the links, you can use them, and this is what Microsoft recommends. And last part is if you use load balancer for ADFS, load balancer must be SSL unaware, otherwise WAP trust will break. No termination, no offloading, no acceleration. And for the WAP server, recommend load balancer is SSL again unaware. If you are enabling SSL bridging, then you will not be able to use workplace join, device registration, client certificate. Let me just finalize this part of the topic. So we said there are several ways how we can utilize SSL service for load balancer with ADFS. The port we need to care about is 443. Now, the question at the hand is how configuration or configure the load balancer should we do it if you have SSL inspection offloading. Okay. Now, what is SSL termination offloading? Commonly used to protect client load balancer traffic with HTTPS, but the load balancer continue traffic in HTTP with the servers. This allows the offloading at the edge level of the load balancer. Now, bridging, SSL bridging is commonly used to apply inspection acceleration on traffic passing the client load balancer traffic, which is encrypted with HTTPS, and the load balancers also use HTTPS to continue the traffic to the back end server. What about SSL pass-through, which is commonly used when load balancer should not be intervening with the traffic? It will just pass it through to the back. Again, some vendors mix up these and they have some different recommendation. Again, I have no preferences. I'm telling you what Microsoft recommends. It is up to you if you want to use them. However, they do work with whatever the supplier will provide you with. Okay. Now, when we said there are no SSL termination between web server and ADFS, the reason for this because the proxy trust relationship between the web application and ADFS is based on client SSL certificate. If the client SSL certificate is only available to the endpoint where the SSL connection is established, then by terminating the SSL in front of the ADFS farm server, that will cause issues. Now, the ADFS server no longer sees the web application proxy trust, which will break the channel between the two. This will lead to an error or event ID. You always will see this one if this happens, which is ID 442. As soon as you see this one, you know this is the issue. There are some blogs available by Microsoft which you can read about it. My advice will be always recommend against any of the SSL awareness on the load balancer. If you absolutely must do something like this, then do SSL bridging on the WAP. This but will break yours. Again, you can read about it. That's all what I had to do in relation to load balancer, and this is all what I have for you for today. Hopefully you have learned something around the firewall and load balancer. Thank you for watching, and I shall see you in part 5 of module 2 of ADFS. Thank you again. Goodbye.